Hi, the internet. It's me, Ben, and I'm back after what has been a prolonged absence. I don't have a script today. I'm going to try and do this in one shot. I'm just going to go for it, and we're going to see what happens. I got a plan. I got a rough outline of what I'm going to do, but I don't have a script. It's uncomfortable. It's like I'm trying to walk without a crutch, but I'm getting like a little bit of a cold, and I didn't have this thing written out. So I thought, well, I'm just gonna go for it. Just gonna go for it.
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, no. We'll do it live. Fuck it. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I think I can do it in one. I'm going to do it in one.
Let's do this in one, shall we?
Okay, so if this is the first video of mine you're seeing, I'm a former Catholic school principal, former Catholic youth minister, and I have abandoned all of that for reasons that I got into in a whole series called How Donald Trump Made Me an Atheist. You can watch that here. I'll put it somewhere. Now what I do mostly is I pick on Catholicism, like for the doddering old pathetic organization that it is. It's not pathetic, and it's actually not doddering. It's doing shockingly well, except if you want to measure it by things that make sense. If the metric you want to use is organization that makes supernatural claims that are consistent, it doesn't hit that. But it is old. I was right about that. That's actually neither here nor there. I guess I'm diving into it a little deeper, a concept that I hit once before in a previous video. I need to take care of some housekeeping first, though. So first of all, thank you to all my patrons who are still with me. That is going to be tricky. I understand, because I just don't know how long. Let's try this again. I didn't do it in one take. But, I'll just cut it together to make it look like I did.
Yes, sir.
One take Bartlett. That's what old Jack Warner used to call me.
First, some housekeeping. I know a lot of you were aware that I left my job as a Catholic school assistant principal because I no longer really believed, and because of some other external factors that I'm not going to get into. I think a lot of you supported me because you knew I needed the support, and I appreciate it. I also think that you support the concept of what I do, which is offering the unique perspective that I have on how the Catholic Church actually operates and doing a deep diagnosis of how it's kind of fucked up. But I want to be forthright. I now have secured a job, I am gainfully employed, and I'm doing fine. I would love to do more of this, but I am trying to balance my schedule right now, and that is not... I'm not doing a very effective job of that. So I'm going to continue to create videos and put out content as I can, but I don't know how often I'm going to be able to do that. So if you're a patron who's been supporting me monthly and you want to switch that donation to per video, that makes perfect sense to me. And again, you're giving me money and supporting my little dream job here. So I accept anything you can offer. I can't thank you guys enough. It's been incredible. Today I'm going to be diving back into a concept on how the Bible came to be. You might hear Christians talk about how Jesus must have been a lunatic, liar, or Lord. Or why would the apostles die for a lie? And I want to tell a story about something that happened recently that really illustrated like exactly the point I've been trying to make, which is I don't think I need those things to be the case. I don't think I need the disciples to have died for a lie. I don't need Jesus to be a lunatic, liar, or a Lord in order for us to have the Bible in its current form. I don't think any of those things need to happen. So I'm going to tell, it's a story within a story. I'm doing it's a nested thing, right? So here's the first story. I was over at my parents' house the other day, and we were reminiscing, telling it's one of those family memories that sort of just comes up all the time. You talk about it all the time. Well, I can't remember how we got there, but I was talking with my dad about a time that I wanted to have an illegal beer. I've had beers illegally because I am a badass. It was a specific illegal beer that I had in New Orleans. I think other people have had illegal drinks in New Orleans, but I'm not sure. I was in New Orleans in the winter of 2007, so it's like 16 months after Katrina. I had an opportunity to go down with a bunch of volunteers and help rebuild the city. We didn't know what we were going to go do. It just wasn't through college. I did it through my home parish. And I actually went with a bunch of other people that I knew. I knew a couple friends from youth group. My brother went. My dad went. On the day in question, we split up into different groups to go to different work sites. Now, it turns out that in 16 months after Katrina hit, they weren't ready to rebuild. They hadn't even finished the disaster cleanup. A lot of what we did was go into houses that had been abandoned, but were still structurally sound, but had, all sorts of hurricane shit in them. It was, their appliances were everywhere. We were actually gutting those houses, pulling out drywall, doing all that type of work that needs to be done to a house where you're taking it down to its bones so that it can get put back together. That work it's gratifying because you know you are helping, but you don't see the progress you're doing. It's like, it smelled like shit and was full of stuff. Now it's not full of stuff. It still smells like shit, and it's nothing but wood and wires. We worked our asses off, and even in January in New Orleans, it is hot and humid, and you are working your ass off all day, and you got to wear long pants and long shirts so you don't wound yourself in the process. It's just safe practice. So you are gassed by the end of every day. So in my group were a couple of the dads from my parish. But at the end of that day, they wanted to have a beer. And so they talked about at the end of the work week, they were going to get a cooler full of beer at the end of the day. Meanwhile, there's me. I'm 20 at the time. 20. I'm 20 and 4 months. I know we don't talk about the fractional age you are after you're like 2, but it was important to me that I was like, I didn't even just turn 20. It'd been a bit. So I was sitting there going, my dad's gotten me drinks before.
There are no rules in this house. I'm not like a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
He has knowingly provided me alcohol in the past. It's always been like a Miller Lite or like a Budweiser. That's what it's been. And I was like, it's nice. I have known at this point that it is nice to have a beer after a hard day's worth of work. I didn't drink much illegally in college. The point I'm getting at is I wasn't going to go on a bender because I had access to beer. But this is a church-based trip. And even though it wasn't a youth group-based trip, people were a little worried about getting in trouble. Here I am thinking we've got 6 adults in this group and then 3 young men. I'm 20. Another guy is like 19, almost turning 20. And then my brother is 18 or something like that. We've all had beer before, and we all know it would be really nice after a hard day's worth of work to have a cold bottle of suds, so to speak.
I think a man working outdoors feels more like a man if you can have a bottle of suds. It's only my opinion.
But then they finally did it, right? On the last day we were there is a cooler full of beer on ice all day, and it is cold, man. It is cold. And then they got us some waters. The whole time, the whole week, I had been telling the guy in charge, I'll say his name is Tim Robbins. We'll call him Tim Robbins. So I said, Tim, like, let me come. You're gonna let me have a beer, right? And Tim was like, no, you're not 21. And I was like, Tim, be reasonable. Come on. Like, here I am. I'm on a mission trip to clean up fucking New Orleans after a hurricane. I'm asking you, can I have a beer at the end of the day? This isn't like, it's New Orleans, man. Come on. Tim Robbins, let me have a beer. Let my boys have a beer.
I'd only ask 3 beers apiece for each of my co-workers.
Tim is insistent that he can't. And I said, like, my parents would be fine with this, right? You understand that. And that caught him off guard. He was a little surprised by that. And he said, really? If I call your dad right now, he'll let you have a beer? And I said, yeah, he's in the other group. He's in the other group at the other work site. I promise you, he'll let me have a beer. Tim Robbins goes, fine. I'll give your dad a call and ask him if he's going to let you have a beer, even though you're not 21. And I said, yeah, like, good, go ahead. And he goes, I'm calling him. I'm going to do it right now. I said, he's 2 miles away. If we drive over to him, he'll let you know. But if you want to call him, you can go ahead and call him. And he goes, I'm gonna. And the whole time, Tim Robbins is thinking he's calling my bluff. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, he's good. After a hard day's worth of work, my dad's fine with me having a bottle of beer. I promise. So he calls him up. And he goes, Mr. Buckets. And my dad says, yes. And he goes, Mr. Buckets, Big Benny is here. And he thinks you're going to let him have a beer after this hard day's worth of work. And I see Tim Robbins. Tim goes, really? Really? Are you sure? I don't know if I can do it. Yeah, probably not. I'm not gonna. Sorry. And he hangs up, and I'm looking at Tim Robbins, and I go, you motherfucker. You thought, you thought for sure. Was never going to let me have a beer. And that was a real bummer. I was bummed out. And look, I'm not an alcoholic, but it's 5 hard days of work, and you just want a beer at the end of the week. So anyway, one of the other dudes I was with, he's like, dude, I have a fake ID. We can go out. If we can like find a way to bust out of here unsuspiciously, we can go get some beer. So we did. Me and my brother and this guy, we snuck off to the grocery store, grabbed a 6-pack of Heineken, went to some abandoned house, and had 2 beers each. And it was delicious. It was one of the best beers I've ever had because of the work that went into it. So that's the story, right? So I'm recalling that story at family dinner. And my dad goes, I wasn't there. I said, Dad, yes, you were. I wasn't there. I said, well, I know you weren't there. You were on the phone. He goes, right, but I wasn't in New Orleans. I was in Maryland. I'm telling you right now, if before that moment, before this moment that happened 2 weeks ago, if you had asked me to write down a story about my time in New Orleans, I would have written this down. I would have said, my father was there, my brother was there, I was there on the same week-long trip to New Orleans. I could have told you stories about where my dad was at a given moment. And he's telling me I wasn't there. He said, I didn't go with you. I went the year later with your brother. Just he and I went. And I went, no, man, no. You were there with me. He goes, we can call him right now. We can call your brother. And I said, let's call him. And as he's calling him up, I went, fuck. Could I be wrong? Could I be wrong about this? Was he actually there? The pivotal moment of this story, I know that he was on the phone. He wasn't present. He was on the phone. But he was in New Orleans, right? I might have made these up. I have real memories of being in New Orleans, but I might have stitched my dad onto them because I remember this beer story so vividly. Is that what happened? And then my brother picks up the phone and my dad asks him, what happened? And my brother says, yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think we all went together ever. I went twice, once with Ben and once with you. And then my dad goes, yeah, I remember, Ben, you were all frustrated because you didn't get to do any construction work. All you did was demo. And then I hear my brother. My brother goes, yeah. Dad and I, we did construction together. And I said, well, that settles it. I know I didn't do any construction at all. And if my dad did do construction and only went once, there's no way that he went with me. Obviously, you can see where this story is going. Human memory is not only fallible, it's malleable. I contorted a memory from my dad being on a phone with a guy to my dad was present. He wasn't there. Obviously, what happened is I remembered that I knew that he actually went a year later. I knew that we had this story with a phone call, and I just overlapped him. But I'm telling you, if you put me on a stand and asked me to swear, I wouldn't have been perjuring myself. I would have said, no, my dad was down there with us. And he said, you would have any specific memories? I say, I have a couple. I would have said, I have a couple. And I would have talked about demolition that we did. I would have been wrong. So here's my question. If the apostles, after Jesus dies, the apostles are all hanging out. Maybe they're talking about how great Jesus was and how much they miss him. They're in a state of complete grief, and maybe have gotten a little drunk, and they're remembering these vivid stories about Jesus and how he moved them. Maybe someone has a hallucination. They hallucinate that Jesus is there. And then that guy, the next day, tells the rest of the apostles the story. And they go, I don't think he was there, man. I know we were talking about it and we were remembering it, but I don't remember actually seeing him. And he goes, no, he was there. He did this, and this. And then then the other apostles would say, okay, here's what happened. We were drinking. We talked about Jesus. And Peter had believed he saw him. And Peter was really convincing. Actually, Peter thinks that he was actually there and that the rest of us didn't see him. So the rest of the apostles don't think Peter was hallucinating. They think he had some sort of mystical experience. And then they tell that story about how we were all together reminiscing about Jesus, and then he appeared to Peter. Can we imagine that story changing over time? I can. I can imagine that instead, suddenly Philip remembers, James remembers. No, I saw him too. They wouldn't even been lying. They want so badly for Jesus to have actually been there that they took Peter's memory that he was there and they imputed that over the top. I think that's really possible. I think it's really plausible, and I think my story illustrates that it could have happened completely honestly. Couldn't it be well-intentioned mistake? I think so. So that's my story for the day. Look, I've got more planned for the coming weeks. I have topics I want to cover. This was a little loosey-goosey, a little free-form, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I think it's all good. Maybe I just want people to keep paying for my content. Could be it. Thanks again to my patrons. Check me out on Twitter at BigBennyBuckets. If you want to go to patreon.com/BigBennyBuckets, you can find me there. Or if you want to send me an email, BigBennyBucketsYT@gmail.com. Bye.
And that's how it came to pass that on the second to last day of the job, The convict crew that tarred the plate factory roof in the spring of '49 wound up sitting in a row at 10 o'clock in the morning, drinking icy cold Bohemia-style beer.
We'll do it live! Fuck it!